you mentioned that some of the characteristics for Gen Z is that they have a desire for virtual connection, freedom, and even ownership. What what does virtual connection even mean? Because isn't Facebook virtual connection, or is there more to that that these traditional social media networks are not offering that they're looking for?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, like you said, they have a desire for virtual connection, and that's the obvious one. They've grown up on Facebook, they've grown up on TikTok. That's how they are virtually connecting. I think Gen Z is one of the loneliest generations. They grew up through on the internet. They grew up through the pandemic. They spend time in their bedroom, on the internet. And so I think from that standpoint, that's how they get access to the world. That's how they learn new things. That's how they evolve who they are as a person. And so I think that's a really important kind of behavior characteristic to look at when we're thinking about Gen Z, and how they might be able to leverage avatars for good and for kind of their own self-expression and kind of escape as well. And so I think that's been, a really I guess interesting characteristic for Gen Z as kind of a generation.
Got it. And then the freedom part, yeah, if you can elaborate on what that means, freedom from what?
Yeah, I think freedom, that really is what we believe as kind of the ethos of Web3. So you have each era or phase of the internet. You have Web 1, you have Web 2, and then you have Web 3. And with every era of the internet, it's always been led by a computing device. And so with Web 1, you had the computer, and that birthed the internet. With Web 2, you had mobile devices, and that birthed Instagram and Facebook and social connection. You had the camera, which on your phone, which enabled people to connect now, in a way that they had never been able to before, with people all over the world, and start getting access to that kind of information and connection with others. And so I think when we look at Web 3, we really believe that that kind of computing device that's really going to pave the way for Web 3 is all going to be around, hardware devices for XR, for AR. And so that really kind of lending itself to this idea of a need for freedom, in people actually owning their assets and actually being able to move away from kind of the bad parts, I guess, of Web 2. And I think that generation specifically, like I said, they're leaving some of these platforms where they don't have that kind of freedom. Facebook and Instagram own their data, they own their assets. They're not getting paid, whatever that might look like. Where I think that's kind of starting to create this shift, and has led now to this Web 3 philosophy around freedom, being able to own your digital assets. And I think what's really interesting too, I always say this even on kind of the NFT conversation, and the power of that is, I think we almost take for granted ownership in the physical world. You own your car, you own maybe your house, or you own your clothes. That's something, that's an asset that you actually, you have ownership over. In the digital world, up until now, you've never been able to own any of your creations. If you write a blog, if you create a video, you don't own those assets. And so I think as we do move into this Web 3 space, people want that connection digitally, but then they also want that kind of freedom and ownership.
Hey everyone, this is Jack, and thanks for watching this clip from Hello Player One. If you enjoyed it, you can click here to watch another one, or if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here. See you later.